What you are going to see today was a common sight in all Hungarian villages 100 years ago. Horse-drawn carts and riders on horseback would come and go, doing their business day by day. Coaches with 4 horses were, of course, only used by the wealthy, but nearly every house in the village had a horse-drawn cart.
Yeah.
Hungary is a citadel of European coachmanship. The owners of this equestrian park, the Lazar brothers, are 21-time World Cup winners in this sport. Coach driving was an important part of the ancient Olympic Games. It's not part of the modern Olympics, but World and European coach driving championships have been held since 1970. Now let's see the champions of the Hungarian plains, the Chikors, who looked after herds of several hundred horses. In the olden days, the Chikors rode the horse without a saddle, or with a saddle that wasn't strapped to the horse, because if the herd was frightened, then they'd have to leave immediately, and there was no time for them to saddle up. The most important tool of the Chikors was their crack whips, which they used to herd their horses and also to drive away any predators that might attack the herd. They would train their horses to get used to the sound of gunfire by getting them used to the sound of them cracking their whips. It was very important that the horses obeyed the Chikors at all times. In olden times, if someone was approaching, it was best to hide until you could see whether it was a friend or an enemy. The lying horse was invisible in the tall grass, so the Chikors could watch the landscape from behind it. After work, it is always sweet to rest. The Chikosh would lie down on his horse and use it as a comfortable pillow or bed. The training of the horses always went according to everyday requirements, but the Chikosh often taught their horses some unusual tricks that only they could do. A prospective Chikosh would start to develop his riding and whip-cracking skills as a child. If needed, the Chikosh became an excellent cavalryman. For example, during the Independence War in Hungary, the whip became a real weapon in their hands. They could easily knock a sword out of the hands of the enemy and even pull a rider off his horse with it. They would braid the whip from 6 to 8 leather straps, with the lower third consisting of one piece of leather to which they attach the snapper that gives the cracking sound. The braided part is attached to the short wooden handle by a ring. The Chikosh spent most of the year outdoors. They came up with games to pass the time. For example, knocking over bottles with their whips. First, our Chikosh is going to show us how they did it in olden times. And after that, we would like to ask a volunteer from the audience to try it. If they succeed, they could win a bottle of excellent Hungarian wine. Working with the same herd could not harm one another in case of an argument. In these cases, the senior Chikosh would call a competition to settle the dispute. Today, the winner of the competition will be the cheek horse that has the most drink remaining in their pitcher after galloping a full round.
He's drinking.
Drink all.
He's drinking.
Apart from horses, cattle also used to define the mood of the old villages. People used cattle carts to transport goods that were too heavy for the horses. The Hungarian grey cattle pulling this cart is an indigenous breed and is protected by law. In the 16th century, they were already quite popular in Western European markets because of their tasty meat. Hungarian tribes arrived in Hungary in the late 9th century, all on horseback, of course. The Hungarian riders' most feared weapon was the bow and arrow. It was with this weapon and their brilliant riding skills that they roamed all over Europe. It's no wonder why the people of Western nations prayed to their god to save them from the arrows of the Hungarians. Our forefathers rode on saddles made of wood, but they also used bones to make their saddles. Their tactic was to attack the enemy in large groups, then suddenly turn around and pretend to flee. Then they shot their arrows backwards, leveling the enemy. The spear was the other lethal weapon in the hands of ancient Hungarians.
Shooting three.
Horses and make this dream come true. Since then, the Hungarian Csíkos have passed this knowledge on from generation to generation. As you can see, the rider of the Puszta 5 is controlling his horses with only his voice and the reins, while trotting and galloping down the straight and around the bends, standing steadily on the backs of the rear horses. And now let's see the manifestation of the dream. Hold your breath, grab the hand of your partner, and promise that you'll never try this at home. Galloping with 5 horses. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, thank you for honoring our show with your presence. We now bid you farewell. If you'd like to take a picture with one of our participants, we welcome you to do so. But for your own safety, please do not enter the track area.
was good.